Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, and today we have come up with some interesting episode. So today we are going to learn about the biology lesson, that is chapter 6, that is life processes. I think you must all have been aware about this life processes. I think you must have been learning this lesson from since childhood, I think from 4th, 5th classes. I think that all the digestion process, all the excretion process, and the respiration, the transportation, the heart, and everything you have been learning from your the lower grades. But in your 10th class, you're going to have a detailed revision. You're going to learn in detail about all these important topics, that is nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. So that is our main important target to complete. So life process is the main lesson. So this life process is such a very big lesson that you are going to learn all the four important things which I have told just now, and we also make sure that we will also solve some important questions and previous year's questions as well. And we also see that and this each topic, the nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion, are very big topics. So it can take up to a longer time for us to revise all the topics in detail. Therefore, I'll make sure the video is divided into 4 parts so that you can easily access it as well. So today our main target is to complete the nutrition part, so that all the things that are related to all the nutrition in plants, nutrition in animals, that is a human beings, and nutrition in amoebas. So these are the three main important things that we are going to see today. So first, before we actually go, now let us try to understand what are actually the life processes. So life processes are nothing but those kind of processes which are important for the maintenance of the living organisms. See, for example, we need breathing. We need breathing for the because we need breathing so that we can actually sustain, we can actually live. So breathing is important in life process that we need. We need respiration, that is breathing. Then we need the transportation also in our body. That means all the food that is actually being made, actually being eaten must be transported to all the parts, to each and every cell of the body, so that it is utilized for the energy production as well. So it is transportation is important. And blood and transportation, only we also see that the purification of the blood, because we try to see that the blood also must be purified, the oxygenated, deoxygenated blood, the purified, impurified blood. So the blood which is rich in oxygen, the blood which is rich in carbon dioxide must be purified, and exchange of gases should take place. So many processes are actually been involved. And another important process is the excretion process as well. So in the excretion process, we try to see that we are actually removing the waste products from the body of an organism. That means harmful waste products as well. And we also see that in nutrition process, the food is being broken down into simpler substances, or complex substances which are there in a body. It means, so whenever we take the food that is in the complex state, so it must be broken down into simpler substances as well. So that will mainly deal with the digestion process. I think now we've got a clear understanding, right? So there are different processes which are actually involved in our body in order to for the maintenance, for the functioning, for the growth, the development of the body. The different processes are being involved. So those kind of processes are called as life processes. I think you must be all be wondering that if we sleep, then our body parts also will sleep. No, it is not that. So all our body parts will continuously work on 24/7, every day, every hour, every minute, every second. They'll try to work out. They'll work and they'll do some functioning with the respective organ, or they'll have their respective functions which they have to perform. So the maintenance of the living organisms must go on even at conditions when they are not physically active as well. So not only physical active, like for example, even if you are not walking as well, even if you are sitting idly, even if you are just sleeping, also this process must go on. So the maintenance job, so the cell's functioning has to go on, and the process and the life processes includes the activities performed by different organs in order to maintain the body. So those processes are called as the life processes. I think you got a clear understanding, right? Now let us try to understand the nutrition process. So what is actually nutrition? Nutrition is nothing but it mainly deals with the eating of the food. Means eating of the food and deriving the energy from the food that we eat is called as nutrition. So in nutrition we also, so as I already told you, in nutrition we are going to see the two main important things, that is nutrition in amoeba and nutrition in human beings and nutrition in plants as well. So these are the three important topics that we are going to see. So in nutrition, we try to focus on the different type of processes that are mainly involved. I think you must have actually learned about this process in your 7th class, I guess. Those processes are ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. So these are the five main important processes which are involved in nutrition. So ingestion. In the ingestion process, I also I'll make sure that that is actually being cleaned. So in ingestion process, we try to see that the food is actually being taken inside the body of an organism. For example, we are actually taking we are actually taking the food inside the body of an organism. Then that is called as the ingestion process. Okay, let me show the picture for you so that you can get a clear understanding about it. Yes, now we are going to see what are the main processes which are mainly involved. So that is, as I already told you, ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. So what is actually the ingestion process? In ingestion process, it mainly deals with the taking in of the food inside an organism. So this is mainly performed by our mouth, which mainly takes the food inside the body of an organism. Then then it is a digestion process. In digestion process, we try to see that there are complex food items which are there in our body must be broken down into simpler soluble substances. So that is digestion. In absorption, we try to see that this food is being absorbed by each and every cell of the body. This is mainly performed by the small intestine. That is, they have villi, which will increase the surface area for the absorption. So as we go on into the deep into the topic, you'll understand this as well. And assimilation process mainly deals with the deriving of the energy and the food that we have actually been eaten for the growth and the development of the body. That is called as assimilation. And egestion is nothing but it is a removal of the undigested food particles in the form of feces. That is called as egestion. So there is actually a difference between egestion and excretion. So by the end of this topic also, you'll get an understanding about what is the main difference between egestion and excretion as well. So egestion mainly deals with the removal of the undigested food particles in the form of feces, that is called as egestion, and the removal of the undigested particles. Removal of the undigested particles in the form of urine will mainly deals with the excretion process. I think now you got a clear understanding, right? What is the main steps which are mainly involved in the nutrition process? That is ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. Now let us try to understand what is the main nutrition which are actually found in amoeba. I think you must all be aware about amoeba, right? So amoeba is an intercellular organism. So let me show a picture so that you can actually understand this amoeba as well. Yes, now we are going to see the main functioning, how the amoeba will actually derive the food that it actually gets. So if you see, this is actually the food vacuole, which is actually food particle which is actually present, outside amoeba. So it will start. So if you see, these both are called as pseudopodia. Pseudopodia are nothing but these are called as a false feet. This will try to stretch itself around the food vacuole, that is a food particle which is present, and they form a food vacuole inside it. So after forming a food vacuole, they try to derive all the food particle and all the energy from the food particle. And as you can see, the food particle which was a little bigger, as you see, it has actually shrinked a little bit. If you see here, it has shrinked a little bit and formed. So after that, it will remove all the particles, it will remove all the particles, that is undigested food particles, by the process called as egestion. So first one, this process is called as ingestion process, wherein it is actually deriving its food. It is actually taking in the body of the food, inside the body of the amoeba. That is called as ingestion process. Then second process, as I told you, is a digestion process. So these both, if you can see, this both is a digestion process, wherein the complex food items are being broken down into simpler substances. That is, the digestion process has actually been taking place here. So then if you see the third step here, in third step we see that absorption process is actually been taking place, wherein the absorbed food is being transported to all the small parts of amoeba, so that it must actually derive the energy as well. So next, assimilation process takes place, wherein the deriving of the energy for the growth and development of amoeba takes place. And the fifth process, that is the egestion process, takes place, wherein it will try to remove the undigested food particles. I think now you got a clear-cut understanding about what is actually the process which will mainly involve in the process in amoeba, how it will derive the energy. So pseudopodia are nothing but it is a false feet which is actually present, which will help in stretching its false feet, and with the help of that it will try to acquire the food. So these are the mainly processes which are mainly involved, and this whole process of actually acquiring, the first step which is used is a recognition. Then it will use the engulfing method, wherein here if you see, this is engulfing, means this is trying to occupy, this is trying to acquire the food, this is trying to acquire the food. So that is engulfing. And the third step which it involves is the intracellular killing. So if you see, it is killing the food vacuole and deriving the energy. So these three processes, that is a recognition, engulfment and the intracellular killing, these three together are being called as the phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is the process wherein it mainly deals with acquiring of the food and deriving the energy from it, is called as phagocytosis. So in amoeba, phagocytosis will happen. Now let us actually have some questions. I think now you got to understand, right? Now we have discussed this page as well. So I gave a brief introduction about all the important processes, that is in nutrition I've given, respiration, then transportation and excretion process as well. Now let us try to understand. Now let us solve these kind of questions now. So why is diffusion insufficient in order to meet the oxygen requirements of multicellular organisms like human beings? So diffusion process mainly deals with the transportation of the particles from the place where there is a high pressure, from the place where there is high pressure to the low pressure. So this is mainly deals with the diffusion process. But now we try to see that, see, in amoeba this will happen because amoeba is a unicellular organism. So with the help of the simple diffusion process, it will be able to meet the oxygen requirements and all the other substances as well. But in humans, there are the multicellular organisms. See, for example, small some cells will make up the tissues make up the organ system, organs will make up the organ system, and this some entire process is actually been, and each organ system will perform its own function as well. So human beings are the complex organisms, and their oxygen requirements are also more as compared to the unicellular organisms. So because human beings are the multicellular organisms, their oxygen requirements are more. Therefore, the simple diffusion process is not able to meet the oxygen requirements as well, because they're complex organisms. So as pointed out, complex organisms, then their oxygen requirements are very high, and they want an efficient supply of oxygen as well. So all these three important reasons will make it the diffusion process insufficient as well. So next, and one more important reason is that the unicellular organisms are in the direct contact with the environment, whereas human beings are not. Human beings, organs and tissues and cells are not in the direct contact with the atmosphere. So with the diffusion process, they can actually not exchange the things as well. So this is the main reason. So I think now you got an understanding, right, why we do not use a diffusion process in human beings, that is multicellular organisms. Now let us see what criteria do we actually mainly decide whether something is alive or not. In order to decide whether an organism is alive or not, we try to understand the different life processes, if it is actually following all the life processes or not. For example, if the breathing is taking place, if there is respiring, if it is transportation is taking place, so all the different kind of life processes, if that is happening, then we can say that the something is alive or not. So what are the outside raw materials which are required by an organism? Also the outside raw materials are nothing but it requires oxygen, it requires food, water, all these things are the outside raw materials. So what processes would you consider essential for the maintaining of life? That is nothing but nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion are the important processes which mainly involve for the maintaining of the life in all the living organisms. Okay, not only human beings, not only animals, not only plants, all the living organisms, whether it is multicellular or unicellular organisms. I think now we got an understanding, right, for what we actually need, means what are the important processes that we actually require for the maintaining of the life. Now after that, now we have actually been discussing about the nutrition process. So we have discussed all these questions. Okay, nutrition is nothing but as I already told you, acquiring of the food. Okay, that one you know. So what is the need of the nutrition? Nutrition, as I already know, because we need the energy supply as well for providing raw materials, for a process of making of the food as well. In plants we need nutrition process. Okay, so in nutrients, I think from second, third, fourth, fifth classes you're going to learn about nutrients, that is carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals and vitamins. All these 5 things will make up the nutrients, and of course you have roughage and water as well, so these are also important. Okay, so now let us see what are the different types of nutrition. So before going to the types of nutrition, let us go to our textbook. So if you see, now in textbook they have actually been mainly focusing on autotrophic and heterotropic mode of nutrition. And we'll also see the other types of nutrition as well in plants. In Holozoic also we have different types, that is saprophytic. Then we also have parasitic, then Holozoic mode of nutrition. So all these things, and carnivores, omnivores. So we'll go in detail, okay? So while talking about nutrition, let us go with the plant. So first, the nutrition in amoeba we have already discussed. It is with the process called as phagocytosis. So that we have discussed. Now let us see about the nutrition in plants. So when you're talking about the nutrition in plants, we have to know about the autotrophic mode of nutrition. So that is, so there are two different types of nutrition. First is the autotrophic mode of nutrition, then is a heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Autotrophic mode of nutrition is a kind of nutrition wherein the organisms will prepare its own food, means they are independent of themselves. Of course, we cannot say they're independent. Of course, they're dependent on the heterotrophs as well. So if you see, autotrophs are the organism which prepares its own food. For example, the green plants, blue-green algae are considered to be the autotrophs. Whereas the heterotrophs are kind of organism which cannot prepare their own food, and they are actually dependent on the autotrophs for their survival. Those organisms which depend upon the autotrophs are called as heterotrophs. Therefore, autotrophs are considered as the producers and heterotrophs are considered as the consumers. And in heterotrophs, we human beings, animals, and many other plants, parasites, and all saprophytes will all come under the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Okay, so while talking about the autotrophic mode of nutrition, we try to see that the important processes which are mainly involved in this autotrophic mode of nutrition is so we try to see how will actually the plants will actually get the food. Now we as you have already been learning about photosynthesis, that process is also very, very important from the board point of view as well. So these organisms, okay, so let us quickly read out everything. So the general requirement for energy and the materials in common in all the organisms, but it is fulfilled in different ways. So some organisms use simple methods for obtaining the energy from the inorganic sources in the form of carbon dioxide and water. And these organisms, autotrophs, include the green plants and some bacteria. And other organisms will use the complex food items, as I already told. So to achieve this, organisms use a biocatalyst called as enzymes. Enzymes are nothing but these are the biocatalysts, some simple processes. So they'll help in the speeding up of the reaction. So thus the heterotroph survival depends upon directly or indirectly on the autotrophs only. So heterotrophic mode of nutrition mainly involves the amoeba and fungi, or in animals only, we human beings also will come under. So now let us see the autotrophic mode of nutrition. So when we are discussing about this autotrophic mode of nutrition, we have to know about the process of photosynthesis. So this point is very important. So carbon dioxide has been carbohydrates have been utilized for providing energy to the plants as well, and many processes which are actually been involved. So once we get to know about photosynthesis, then again we'll come back to autotrophic mode of nutrition and we'll read out this. So this is a very, very important reaction that is actually been there in your textbook. So this is nothing but this is this is photosynthesis, wherein carbon dioxide and water have been taken from the atmosphere, and in the presence of chlorophyll, which chlorophyll is nothing but it is a green color pigment. Then in the presence of sunlight, it gives glucose, oxygen gas, and water. So this is a very, very important process, a very, very, very important equation that we have to remember in front of you of the photosynthesis. Okay, so what is actually the processes which are mainly involved in the photosynthesis process? First, we are going to try to absorb the light energy with the help of chlorophyll. So in the exam, if they ask what is the main function of the chlorophyll, then you must be able to answer that chlorophyll is a green color pigment which is helpful in trapping the solar energy, in trapping the light energy. The chlorophyll plays a very important role. After trapping the light energy, it is being converted into the chemical energy. So first process which involves is the absorption, that means absorption of the light energy. Second process which mainly deals is the conversion process, wherein the light energy is being converted into the chemical energy which can be utilized by the plants. That is second process, conversion. Then third process which is important is a splitting. That means the water molecules are split into hydrogen and oxygen gas, which are important for the plant to take it. So the next fourth process is the reduction process, wherein the carbon dioxide is being converted into carbohydrates so that it can actually, so the plants can derive the energy. So this is the main process which has actually been involved. Okay, so these steps need not take place one after the other. For example, the desert plants will take up carbon dioxide at night and prepare the intermediate which is acted upon by the energy absorbed by the chlorophyll during the day. Okay. So in desert plants, it's kind of a different situation because they'll try to take up carbon dioxide during the night. Okay, during the sunlight, during the daytime, they'll with the help of chlorophyll, they try to absorb the light energy. But during the night time, they try to take up the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Okay. So this is also very important. This chloroplast picture is plays a very important. This question is this one is also asked in the recent board exam. This is I think 32-2-1 set 1 2 3 sets. This question was been asked, very important, where the process of exchanging of the gases will take place. That is here in the fourth stage. This is the first stage. Okay, this is the first stage, second stage, third stage, and fourth stage. In the fourth stage, we have the guard cells, which will actually help us in the exchanging of the gases. Therefore, this is very important. Okay, I think now we got a clear-cut understanding, right? What are the main processes which are mainly involved in the transport in the process of photosynthesis? First one is absorption, next conversion, next we use the splitting, and then we fourth step, that is the reduction process. Okay. Now let us read out this so that we can actually get a clear understanding, quick understanding about this as well. So carbon and energy requirements of the multicellular organisms are fulfilled by photosynthesis. So it is a process by which autotrophs will take in the substances from the outside and convert them into the stored forms of energy. So this material is being actually taken in the form of carbon dioxide and water, which is converted into carbohydrates in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. When carbohydrates are utilized for providing energy to the plant, we will study about this in the next section, that is the respiration process. So carbohydrates which are not utilized immediately are stored in the form of starch. And I forgot to tell one more important point is that, so in the question if they ask what are the raw materials which have been used, here we use the raw materials carbon dioxide and water as raw materials for the process of photosynthesis. For the process to give the glucose and water and oxygen, the raw materials used are the carbon dioxide and water. Okay. Then carbohydrates are being utilized for providing of the energy to the plant, and so the excess, so there is always an excess of carbohydrates which are present. So excess of carbohydrates is actually be stored in the form of starch, so which will serve as an internal energy reserve which can be utilized in the later point of time when there is a less amount of energy. So we try to see that, so excess of the carbon dioxide is actually carbohydrates are being stored in the form of starch. Okay, so they are stored in the form of glycogen, but in the human beings we try to store it in the liver in the form of glycogen, but in the plants we try to store it in the form of starch. When starch is tested with iodine, it forms blue black color substance. Okay, bluish black color substance it will form. So now we got an understanding, right, what is actually the autotrophic mode of nutrition. So these activities we will discuss in a later point of time. Okay, now let us see what are the guard cells. The guard cells diagram is also very important for us because from many times in board exam also this question has been asked about the guard cells. So stomata. Stomatal pore is nothing but they'll help in the exchange of the guard cells, will help in the exchange of gases, and stomatal pore will try to shrink and they'll try to expand depending upon the amount of water that is present in it. Okay, so massive amounts of gases exchange will take place in the leaves through these pores for the purpose of photosynthesis, but it is important to know that there is an exchange of gases which will occur on the surface of the stems, roots, leaves as well. Since the large amounts of water can also be lost through this stomata, the plant closes these pores when it does not need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So the opening and the closing of the pore is the function of the guard cells. So the guard cells will swell up when there is excess of water, and they'll try to shrink when there is when they try to remove the water. Okay. So that is the main process which is mainly involved. Then nitrogen. So nitrogen is a very essential substance. So if you see the nitrogen gas, so atmospheric nitrogen is being converted into nitrates and nitrites which can be utilized by the plants. I think last year you have learned about the nitrogen cycle, like with the help of the nitrogen that is present in the atmosphere, it is converted to blue-green algae, and with the help of blue-green algae leguminous plants, it is converted into nitrates and nitrites that is present that is given to the soil, and then the then the plants can take up this nitrates and nitrites because it is important for it to make the amino acids, that is the proteins for the plant. So it is taken up as an organic substance which must be prepared by bacteria for the atmospheric nitrogen. So very important for the synthesizing of proteins and other compounds. This nitrogen is very much essential. And after that we try to see that this nitrogen is again, with the help of that blue-green algae and everything, it has been again converted into atmospheric nitrogen. So this is a cycle which goes on. So that you have to remember a lot. That you have to this is not important from the examination point of view, but you can just remember. Okay, now I think you got a clear-cut understanding that what is a process which mainly involves in the nutrition process in amoeba. So let us have a quick recapitulation so that you can also have understand the topics easily. So the first process which mainly involves in nutrition amoeba. So first is the nutrition process. So in nutrition process we saw that there are four main important processes, that is in the life processes we have seen the four main important topics, that is the nutrition we have seen, and we also saw about, we gave a brief understanding about nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion processes as well. Then after that we have saw about the 5 different processes which are mainly involved in the nutrition, that is ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion process. Then after that we have seen about nutrition in amoeba. While discussing about nutrition in amoeba, we have discussed about that nutrition will mainly deal with in amoeba, that is a phagocytosis process. That the process by which it will acquire the food is called as phagocytosis. In the phagocytosis process, we try to see 3 main important processes. That is the recognition of the food particles, then engulfment and the intracellular killing. Okay, these are the 3 main important processes which are involved in phagocytosis. Then after that we have seen about the nutrition in plants. In nutrition in plants we have seen that the photosynthesis. We have nutrition in plants, we saw autotrophic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In autotrophs are the kind of organisms which will not depend upon anyone. They make their own food. Green plants are the examples. When heterotrophic mode of nutrition, they do not prepare their own food, they are called as consumers because they try to depend upon these autotrophs for the deriving of the energy or for the food and everything. Okay, then in autotrophic mode of nutrition, we have seen about photosynthesis. Photosynthesis process will mainly deal with the acquiring of the carbon dioxide and water present in the atmosphere in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, and will try to obtain the energy. And it will convert the carbohydrates and it will convert it into glucose and oxygen gas and into water. And nutrition plants, we have seen 4 main processes. That is the first process which mainly deals in the absorption, wherein we are trying to absorb the energy, we are trying to absorb the light energy with the help of chlorophyll. The second important process is that we are going to do conversion as well. So this light energy has actually been converted into the chemical energy which can be utilized by plants. The third process is the splitting. The water molecule is being split into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. And the fourth important process which we are mainly involving is that is what the reduction process, wherein the carbon dioxide has been divided into carbohydrates, which is required with the plants for the process of making energy as well. And then now you got a clear-cut understanding that what all we have discussed. Now let us discuss about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, each organism is being adapted to its own environment. So for example, let us see this one. I think got an understanding, right? So use inorganic reactions in the environment to derive the creation of the organic matter. So we use simple inorganic substances and either light energy, photosynthesis, or chemical substances to synthesize the food. Now let us see what is the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, they depend upon the autotrophs. And one thing we have to understand, that in an ecosystem, that means there is always a dependence. There is always an interdependence between the biotic and the abiotic components. That is, if you see in the environment, we try to see that there is both dependence of both biotic and abiotic components. For example, if you see biotic components are nothing but they're the plants, biotic components, whereas biotic components, all these plants, animals, humans are there. Whereas in the abiotic components, the soil, air, water, land will come under the abiotic. It's not biotic and abiotic are quite different from living and non-living. So they are living and non-living only, but they are quite different because abiotic components are not the living things. They mainly deal with the kind of things that the biotic components will require for their survival. So those kind of things are called as abiotic. For example, if you see land is required for all the living beings. Yes, that is called as abiotic. Then water is abiotic. Then soil is abiotic. So all these kind of things which are required for the survival of the biotic components are being called as abiotic. In a similar way, biotic components require abiotic. Abiotic components will also require biotic. So there is always quite interdependence. Okay. So whereas if you see plants will also require all these things which are required, and in return abiotic component in return. So what I'm actually trying to tell is that there is always an interdependence between the autotrophic and the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Because if you see autotrophic mode of nutrition as well, plants are there. So plants require humus, which is an organic matter. So that is actually mainly derived from the heterotrophic mode, heterotrophs, that is animals when they die, when they decompose into the soil, they add nutrients to the soil. So there is always a cycle which goes on, that is abiotic, there is a cycle which goes on, that is autotrophic and heterotrophic and autotrophic. They both are interdependent, that you must try to understand. Okay. In the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, we have the saprophytic and the holozoic mode of nutrition. So saprophytic is nothing but in saprophytic mode of nutrition, the organisms will secrete the juices. So the food is being digested while it is being still ingested. So the digested food is then, okay, then we try to understand. So in saprophytic mode of nutrition, organisms which will feed on the dead and decaying organic matter are being called as the saprophytes. So you must think that scavengers, yes, scavengers can also be considered. Saprophytic means organisms which will depend upon the dead and decaying organic matter and tries to derive with energy from it are called as the saprophytes. Holozoic mode of nutrition. Holozoic mode of nutrition means they try to take the whole, they try to take the organism as a whole. That is called as Holozoic mode of nutrition. We are Holozoic mode of nutrition, human beings. Okay. So the digestion happens inside the body of the organism, that is after the food is ingested. So most of the animals will follow the Holozoic mode of nutrition. Okay. Now you can take examples. Okay, in the whole. So before going to that, let us try to understand about the carnivores, omnivores, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and scavengers. Herbivores are kind of organisms which will only eat plants, whereas omnivores are kind of organisms which will eat both plants and animals. Carnivores will eat only animals, and scavengers will feed on the dead and decaying organisms. Okay, that is scavengers. Example of all these things, if you want, I'll say. Then herbivores, you can tell. If you want herbivores as an example, you can take a cow. You can take some cow. You can take, right. Cow you can take. Then horse you can take. All these are the herbivores. Then goat you can take are herbivores. Carnivores, if you say tiger, if you take tiger is also very important living organism. Then we'll also try to take all the ferocious animals, tiger, lion, cheetah, leopard, all this will come under the carnivores. Then omnivores, we human beings will eat both plants and animals, so we are omnivores. So many other animals are also there. And scavengers, you can take vultures, you can take, they'll try to feed on the dead and decaying organic matter and organisms. Then we can also take vultures, you can take, then hyenas are also good example of scavengers as well. So these are the main important processes. So the plant nutrition, we have seen the photosynthesis process, right? So now let us try to see what is the main significance of the photosynthesis. I think we have seen this, right? So it is green plants are main producers for photosynthesis. Yes. Now let us now mainly come to the animal nutrition. In animal nutrition, we are going to say the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So when an organism will try to take the food from another organism, then it is called as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So different heterotrophic organisms will follow different methods in order to take and utilize the food. So based on this, the heterotrophic mode of nutrition can be mainly divided into two types. That is a saprophytic, as I already told you. Then it is a holozoic mode of nutrition. Okay, in a holozoic mode of nutrition, all the 5 steps which I already told in the nutrition process are mainly applicable for the Holozoic mode of nutrition. Okay. Then as I already told about saprophyte you can take fungi, bacteria you can take as the saprophytes. And other examples, if you want, you can take Neotia, and Indian pipe as well. I'll try to show Indian pipe. So Indian pipe this is also an example of saprophyte. Or you can say that it is a monotropa. Okay. Then otherwise, if you want, you can take another one, that is Neotia is also an example. I'll try to show the picture of it. Yes, it is also absorb nutrients as a saprophyte. I'll try to show the picture. So this is a Neotia plant. Okay. I think now you got an understanding that what are the different processes which are mainly involved, that is saprophytic and the Holozoic mode of nutrition. Okay, now let us try to understand the main steps. As I already told, these are the main steps which are involved. So nutrition in amoeba also we have actually seen. So the main important thing that we are going to come is the nutrition in human beings. So this nutrition in human beings is very, 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 very important from the examination point of view as well as from the understanding point of view as well, because this is a kind of place wherein we mostly get confused as well, because there are more similar terms which actually been there. So we also will try to understand everything in detail so that you will not get confused in anywhere. Okay. So this is the structure. So by just seeing that, don't get tensed or anything. So the upper so first step of digestion process will mainly start at mouth. So if any assertion, reasoning, or any true or false or any multiple choices been asked, first step of digestion process will start in the mouth. Okay. So in the mouth we have mainly the saliva. We have teeth. So in the teeth also we have 4 different types, that is canines, molars, premolars, and incisors. So the different type of teeth will have different functions, which will help in the tearing of the food, which will help in biting of the food, which will help in chewing of the food, and everything. Okay. So the mouth is also called as a buccal cavity. So the salivary glands are also present in the mouth. So the tongue has a gustatory receptors. Gustatory receptors, nothing but this mainly deals with the if anything which is related to taste or anything are being tested by the gustatory receptors. Okay, which will perceive the sense of taste. Okay, olfactory receptors are present in the nose, which will help in smelling. Okay, sense of the smell. Okay, gustatory receptors are actually present in the mouth, which will actually help in the sense of the taste. Okay, so this tongue will actually help in the turning of the food, so that saliva can be properly mixed with it properly also. Okay, so the teeth can also help in the breaking down the food into simpler small substances, so that the swallowing of the food becomes easier. So as you already know, there are different 4 types of teeth. So incisors will help in the cutting of the food, canines will help in the tearing of the food, and cracking hard. Premolars are used for the coarse grinding of the food, and molars are used for the grinding of the food. Okay, so these are mainly 4 processes. So if they ask a detailed 3 to 5 mark answer, 3 or a 5 mark answer, then you must only about the mouth. Then you must mention all these important points. So try to make it in a more attractive form. That is, you try to make it in the form of a flow chart, that you can actually make a flow chart so that this makes more attractive as well. Still, I don't have a pen right now, so but I'll try to show it with a pen in the future, in the upcoming videos as well, so that you're going to get an understanding as well. Okay, I'll try to make the flow charts and make it more attractive as well. So mouth, when you're discussing about the mouth, so teeth will help in the breaking of the food into the smaller substances, so the swallowing will take place easily. So saliva is mainly secreted by the salivary glands. So while discussing about this, first we need to understand that there are different processes. So salivary glands, liver, gallbladder, and gallbladder and pancreas. And these 4 things are called as the accessory glands. So why they are called as accessory glands? This is because this will help in enhancing, this will help in efficiency, this will actually increase the efficiency of the digestion process. Therefore, they are called as accessory glands. Okay. Therefore, that is the salivary glands, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. These four are being considered as accessory glands, or the glands which will help in efficiency, or which will help in efficiency of the digestion process. Okay. Now let us try to understand from the mouth. If you see from the mouth here, these are the salivary glands. So in the salivary glands, it mainly has the amylase. They help in the secretion of the amylase. Salivary glands will help in secretion of amylase, salivary amylase, which will actually help in the breaking down of the breaking down of the sugars or carbohydrates into glucose. That is a very, very important process which is actually done by salivary amylase. So see, for example, see, three enzymes have actually been present. Amylase is present, ptyalin is present, amylase is present, then lipase is present, and trypsin. Okay, amylase will help in the breaking down of the carbohydrates into or some sugars in the sugars in the body into glucose. That is mainly performed by amylase. Salivary amylase. Okay, salivary amylase is an enzyme which is actually present in the mouth, which helps in the secretion, helps in the conversion of the sugars or the carbohydrates into glucose. Glucose is also called as maltose. Remember, glucose is also called as maltose. Okay. Now parrot. Parotid, sublingual, and submandibular. Submandibular is a lower jaw, below the tongue, which is present. That is called as a low submandibular. Then sublingual is below the tongue. That is actually present. That is called sublingual. Okay. Then the parotid is something above the tongue, above the mouth, which is actually above the tongue, which is present. That is called as a parotid. Okay. Yes, you can just remember it. Okay. Then tongue will help in the mixing of the food, everything. So the chewed food will actually pass through the esophagus. So the chewed food is called as the bolus. Remember, the chewed food is called as a bolus. Okay. Now then acidified food is called as a chyme. Okay, if you want I can give a detail. Chyme is nothing, it is an acidified food which will pass into the small intestine. There is a bolus is nothing but the chewed kind of a food. If you're going to chew the food, right? So that kind of a chewed food is called as a bolus. So the chewed food will pass through the stomach through a food pipe that is called as esophagus. It moves in a peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movement is nothing but continuous relaxation and contraction. And it is a kind of flexible movement which has actually been taking place, that is called as esophagus. It is moves in a peristaltic movement. Very, very important point. Peristaltic movement. So after entering the stomach, it will enter between the esophagus and the stomach, there is a sphincter muscle. Sphincter muscles are the muscles which will help in the opening and the closing, so that they'll allow the food into it. So there are mainly three sphincter muscles which are present. One is between the esophagus and stomach, and one is between stomach and small intestine, and another is the anal sphincter. Okay, either anus. Okay, so this esophagus and stomach is called as a cardiac sphincter. Cardiac, I know that it must be related to the heart, but it's not heart. It's related to cardiac sphincter, that is related to esophagus and the stomach. Okay, this is the sphincter muscles, are three sphincter muscles, that is a esophagus and the stomach. Okay, you can see here. Then after that we have the pyloric sphincter. So this pyloric sphincter is present between the stomach and the small intestine. Then we have the large intestine, and then we have the anus. Okay, these are the main processes which are mainly involved. Now if you try to see, what we are going to see is that so the food which is actually flowing to the food pipe will enter the stomach through the cardiac sphincter. So the inner lining of the stomach is covered with mucus. So because mucus will actually, so in the stomach we have some of the very dangerous acid that is called as a hydrochloric acid. Then you might ask, then why is that dangerous acid which is actually present in the mouth? Yes, dangerous acid actually is present in the mouth because this acid also has a greater role, because first process is that this acid will make the food into acidic form. That is the first main process. Then it will activate the pepsinogen. In order to activate pepsin, in order to activate the proteins. This will help in the protein formation as well, that is HCl, that is hydrochloric acid. And the third part is that it will help in fighting against the foreign particles and everything also. This is very, very, very important. So what are the three main functions of the HCl acid? Fighting against the foreign particles, then activating the pepsinogen in order to activate the pepsin in order to give the proteins. Then second one is third one, it will make the food into the acidic form. So these are the three main important processes which are mainly involved. Okay. Then after that we try to see that pancreas are there, then stomach is there, pancreatic duct is also present. Okay. So then therefore that is present in the stomach. Okay, therefore this is a dangerous acid. So in order not to harm the stomach from this dangerous acid, the inner lining means here, if you see, so this inner lining of the stomach has been covered with mucus, so that is will actually protect the stomach from this dangerous acid. I think you must be wondering, I think you must also must have experienced this, right? For example, when you're kind of vomiting as well, your mouth becomes salivary, is actually filled with a lot of saliva as well. So this is because the chewed food which is actually present in the mouth, in the stomach, it is actually come up. It's actually forcing it to come up to the mouth. So during that time, this acid will also try to come up during that time. So so what happens is that this acid can have a serious impact on the mouth as well. So during that time, the mouth will try to become tries to fill it with saliva, so that when the half chewed food will try to come out from the mouth, when the acid, so hydrochloric acid also will come out from that. So in that process, it will not harm the mouth. So this is also very important. So during vomitings, why our mouth becomes it is filled with saliva. Okay. Then after passing from the stomach, it passes to the small intestine. In the small intestine, and so between a kind of a small intestine and duodenum, we have the pyloric sphincter. So this pyloric sphincter will also help us in transporting of the food particles into the small intestine. And small intestine is called as a site for the complete digestion process. But this is because so the liver will actually liver will add its secretions. Liver and gallbladder will add with its secretions into the small intestine only. So the food will not specially will pass into the gallbladder, so that it will add its secretions directly into the small intestine only. And pancreas will also add its enzymes into the small intestine. So first let us talk about liver. Liver is considered to be the largest gland in our body. So liver will help us in the process of producing of the two things, that is two enzymes, that is bilirubin and biliverdin. So this both will help us in the making of the food. They give the bile juice. So the liver has two main functions, that it helps in giving the bile juice, and it also helps in emulsifying of the fat. So what is this emulsification process? Emulsification is nothing but it is a process which mainly deals with the breaking down of the large fat globules which is present in the body into the smaller and simpler substances is called as emulsification process. Okay, so in liver we try to see that the emulsification of the fat will actually take place. So the emulsified fat will actually go into the small intestine, and there the breaking down of the fat globules will take place. I think now you got an understanding, right? What is the main function of liver? It helps in making of the food into alkaline form. Alkaline is nothing. So the bases which are soluble in water are called as alkalines. So this is because it converts the food particles into soluble water soluble particles. Okay, and alkaline water soluble particles. Then after that, okay. Then after that, we try to see that there is also an important function which mainly which is actually there, that pancreatic enzymes are also being present. So these pancreatic enzymes will actually help us in making of the three enzymes, that is a trypsin, amylase, and lipase. Okay, so trypsin will mainly deal with so let us talk about amylase first. So amylase will mainly deal with the conversion of the carbohydrates into glucose, that is called as amylase. So then lipase. So lipase will mainly deal the lipase conversion of the large fatty acids into conversion of the large fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Trypsin will mainly deal. Okay, let us not get confused. Amylase. Amylase is the conversion of carbohydrates to glucose. Then after that, second important thing, that is the lipase. So lipase will help us in the conversion of the fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Then the third important process is that is a trypsin. Trypsin will help in the conversion of the proteins to amino acids. So that is performed by pancreas. I think now you got an understanding, like what is performed by liver and what is performed by pancreas, right? Then small intestine. So depending upon the kind of food the organism is eating, the small intestine will vary. For example, if you see deer and everything, if you see the herbivores, so herbivores will have usually they have a larger small intestine. So you might usually think that some ferocious animals like a tiger, lion, leopard, cheetah will have the largest small intestine, but it is not true. So herbivores, the herbivore eating animals will have the largest small intestine because they have to that they will eat the grass which contains cellulose, which is very difficult to digest. Therefore, they have a larger small intestine. Whereas in animals and plants. Whereas in plants and animals, whereas in animals, carnivores, they'll eat meat which can easily be digested. Therefore, they have a little less small intestine. The length of the small intestine is less as compared to that of the herbivore eating plant-based eating animals. Now I think you got an understanding, right? What is the main reason why the small intestine will vary depending upon the organism, right? Depending upon the food they eat, it will vary. Okay, so small intestine will have the small surface area. So they'll have the small finger-like projections called as villi. Okay, so before going to small intestine, let us read this one. So we got an understanding about this. The stomach is like a bag-like structure, highly muscular, and it churns the food and it secretes the hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid will kill the germs and also mix a medium acidic form, so it also can highlight food, and also makes the stomach it also makes the food into acidic form, and acidic medium is necessary for the gastric enzymes to work upon. So enzyme pepsin is being secreted in the stomach and does partial digestion of protein as well. So the mucus which is secreted by the walls of stomach saves the inner lining of the stomach from getting damaged from the hydrochloric acid. So all the points which I told have been mentioned, but pepsinogen is not mentioned, so we must learn about this pencil. You can go to the first of the video and you can check it as well. Small intestine. A small intestine will mainly deal it is like a coil-like structure, as you can see in the picture as well. It's like in the coil, like this tube-like kind of structures. Okay. The small intestine is divided into three parts, that is duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Okay, just you remember the names, that's enough. So liver is the largest gland which is present in the body. It is helping by manufacturing the bile juice and emulsification of the fats. Okay. Okay, then bile will also break down the fats into smaller particles. So the process is called as emulsification of fat, and after that the enzyme lipase gets digested into fatty acids and glycerol. Trypsin and chymotrypsin enzymes are being secreted with amino acids. Okay. Okay, so then we have the inner walls. So the inner walls of ileum is projected into the numerous, okay, if you see the picture, that's not mentioned actually. Okay, so villi are nothing but they will help in increasing, they are like small finger-like projections which are there. They'll help in increasing the surface area for absorption of the food, and villi also reduce the lumen. And also the main function of this finger-like villi is that they'll help in transporting of the food particles to each and every cell of the body, so that it can actually derive the energy from the food as well. So that is the main function of villi. Apart from, they'll increase the surface area for the absorption, and also they'll transport the food particles to each and every cell of the body of the organism. Then large intestine. Large intestine is smaller than small intestine, and undigested food particles. Okay, so all the undigested food particles which are present in the small intestine will go into the small intestine, which go into the large intestine. In large intestine, some little bit of more absorption of water, salts will take place. Then after that, the undigested food particle will go to the rectum. Rectum is a place where it will store the undigested food particles, wherein it is expelled out through the anus. Okay, with the help of anus, it is actually been expelled out of the uh, um, respective living organism. Okay, so here the food is actually been in the form of the feces. Okay, so undigested food particle that is in the feces, which is there, is stored in the rectum and it is expelled out through the anus as well. I think now you got a clear understanding, right, what is the main process which has actually been involved. So this is a very important chapter that is from the examination point of view that you have to remember. So let us now try to have a quick revision of whatever we have learned from the beginning. Okay, now so that you can get a clear understanding. So first one is a food. So food that we eat is been first it goes to the mouth. With the help of mouth, in the mouth the first step of digestion process will take place. Okay, then after from the mouth it will go to the buccal cavity. In the buccal cavity we will try to see that buccal cavity is nothing but it is the mouth. Okay, salivary gland. In the salivary glands it will help in secreting of an enzyme called as amylase. So this amylase will help in conversion of the sugars or carbohydrates and everything into glucose. So this glucose is also called as maltose. Then with the help of pharynx is not required, just with the help of tube. So then it will move to the esophagus. Esophagus is nothing but it is a food pipe. It is a food pipe wherein the food will actually move in the form of a peristaltic movement. So the food will actually move in the form of a peristaltic movement, that is a continuous contraction, the relaxation of the food pipe, and it goes to the stomach. So between the esophagus and stomach, we have a sphincter muscle which is present. So that sphincter muscle is called as a pyloric sphincter. So that is called as a cardiac sphincter. Then after that, I think it is a printing error. First here cardiac sphincter should be there, and then here the pyloric sphincter should be there. Okay, that's printing error. Okay, then cardiac sphincter. Then okay, it's a printing error. I request all to check it properly. So it's a cardiac sphincter first, then it goes to the pyloric sphincter. So in the stomach it will have HCl acid which is present. I think you got to know the three main functions of HCl acid as well, and the inner lining of the stomach is covered with mucus, so that this will actually protect the stomach from the HCl acid. Okay, then it will move to the move to the small intestine. So between so it will move to the duodenum, you can say. So between the small stomach and the duodenum, we have a sphincter muscle that is present, that is called as a pyloric sphincter. This is a printing error, I'm telling again. So this should be interchanged. Okay, then after that, after duodenum, it will move to the small intestine. See, whenever asked between an exam, you can just say that pyloric sphincter is present between the small intestine, between the stomach and the small intestine, whereas cardiac sphincter is between the esophagus and stomach. Okay, then small intestine, so it will add all its secretions in small intestine only, where all the secretions, that is liver and pancreas, will take place, and it will move to the large intestine. Undigested food particles in small intestine. Also, small intestine will have villi, and they'll help increase in the surface area for the absorption. And the undigested food particles will move to large intestine. Large intestine, after that, they'll try to absorb still water and salts from it, and glucose also. After that, the undigested food is stored in rectum, and it is moved out through the anus. Okay, so anus will have the anal sphincter, which will move in the exiting of the food particles. So this is the entire flow chart of the human digestive system. I think got a clear-cut understanding what this entire nutrition process, right? Yes. Now, what are the accessory glands? Accessory glands are nothing but the glands which will actually help us in efficiency, which will help in the efficiency of the digestion process. Those glands are called as the accessory glands. That is salivary glands, bile, pancreas, and gallbladder are considered to be accessory organs or accessory glands. Okay, I think now you got an understanding, right? Now let us solve the questions as well, so that till here we can end the video. Okay, so what are the differences between the autotrophic and the heterotrophic mode of nutrition? Autotrophic mode of nutrition. In the autotrophic mode of nutrition, the food is synthesized from simple organic to substances such as, so the food is synthesized, means from the inorganic substances, that is carbon dioxide and water, that be converted into organic substances, that is a glucose, water and oxygen gas. In the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, they try to get directly or indirectly from the autotrophs. The food is broken down with the help of enzymes. See, you can always use examples as a point in science. When you're not getting any points, you can use an example as definitely 1 point. Okay, then in a autotrophic mode of nutrition, they try to prepare their own food, and whereas heterotrophic mode of nutrition, food cannot be prepared. They do not prepare on their own food. They're dependent on the autotrophs for their survival. And in autotrophic mode of nutrition, presence of green color pigment, that is chlorophyll, is necessary. Why chlorophyll is necessary? In order to trap the solar energy, that is sun's heat. Chlorophyll process is very important. Then no pigment is actually required for the process of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Then food is generally prepared during the daytime, and food can also be prepared at all the times. Okay? That means once they get the food, they can derive the energy from it. Okay. Then all green plants and some bacteria have this type of nutrition, and some animals, human beings, fungi will have will have this heterotroph. Heterotroph, you can take parasites and saprophytes as example. I forgot to tell you about parasites. Right? Parasites are organisms which will depend upon the other organisms and will try to derive the energy from it. For example, cuscuta daughter is an example of this. They'll depend upon the host organism and derives the energy from it. Okay. So where do plants get each of the raw materials required for photosynthesis? So raw materials which are required for process of photosynthesis are nothing but chlorophyll, sunlight, water and carbon dioxide. Okay. So the raw material carbon dioxide we can get from the atmosphere through the stomata. Then water is absorbed by the soil through different plant roots. They'll have the root hairs and the plants, which helps in the transport. There is actually a difference in the pressure which is actually being created. So that one we learn the transportation as well. The difference in the pressure which is actually being created, because of which the transportation of the water from the soil will go to the root hairs. Then what is the sunlight is obtained from the environment and is absorbed by the soil, chlorophyll and other green parts of the plant. So what is the main role of the acid? As I already told you, you can go through it. So what is okay, once I'll tell again. So first main function of the acid is to dissolve the bits of the food, and is to make the bolus, that is the chewed food, into the acidic form of the food, that is chyme. Okay, that is the first step. The second step is to kill the foreign particles, any harmful microbes that will enter the food, that will also prevent from foreign particles. The third one is to activate. So in this acidic medium, enzyme pepsinogen is converted to pepsin, which is the protein digesting enzyme. So three very, very important functions of HCl acid. So what is the function of the digestive enzymes? Digestive enzymes are nothing but amylase is there, lipase is there, and trypsin is there. Trypsin will help us in the conversion of proteins to amino acids. Then lipase will help us in the conversion of the fatty acids, that is the fats, into fatty acids and glycerol. Then amylase will help us in the conversion of the carbohydrates into glucose. Okay. So so each enzyme has its own function. So these are in breaking down of the complex food particles into simpler ones. Okay. So how is the small intestine designed to absorb the digestive? They have this finger-like projections called as villi, which helps in increasing surface area for the absorption, and many food vessels are also present that will absorb the digestive food particles and carry it to the bloodstream, and from the bloodstream it is also absorbed is delivered to each and every cell of the body. Okay, that is called as the small intestine. Okay, each and every cell of the body, and so that it can derive in order to get energy as well. So these are the main things which are involved in the nutrition in animals, plants and amoeba. I think it took around 1 hour, right, in order to complete this entire session. So now you got a clear-cut understanding about this each and every process as well. So I'll try to upload the shorts as well. So that is a 1 minute short, so that you can get a quick revision about this entire syllabus as well. That is nutrition plans. I'll try to upload quick 1 minute videos as well, so you can just quickly refer them and you can go through before we go to the exam as well. Okay, and okay, I think we got an understanding that everything I've discussed here. Enzymes I've discussed, anal sphincter is there. So the exit of the waste material is regulated. So exit of the waste material is regulated by the anal sphincter. Okay. So this, in the next class we are going to discuss about the nutrient respiration process, the two different types of respirations and everything. Also I'll try to see if I can upload that video today itself, also based on that, and also see that see so after this I'm thinking of starting the social, because the social not require anything about the drawing, because I have to buy a pen and everything, so that takes it a lot of time. So that's the reason not taking up chemistry and physics, because they have the numericals which have to be solved. Therefore I'm not taking up those, and chemistry will have all the equations which I must do it. So it takes time for me to adapt to all those things. So after that I complete this, I'll go to the social. So after that I'll go to chemistry and physics as well. Okay, and after that we'll go to English as well. English also try to upload. Okay, so this is all about the episode. I think you got a clear-cut understanding, right, of what are all the syllabus, what are the respiration process. You can just comment down below the video if you have any doubts. So I'll try to respond to all the doubts if you have. Okay, and in next class we'll see about the respiration, the different types of respiration: respiration plants, respiration in animals, and there is in human beings. And after that we are in the next class, after that third class, we are going to see the transportation. Fourth class, excretion. This chapter is going to be completed. And activities, I'll try to plan a different video for activities as well. Okay, so and this if you want this PDF, I'll try to see if I can upload, can actually send this PDF as well. Okay, I'll try to see. I can save the PDF. So I'll try to say whatever we have discussed, I'll try to pin it out in the description below. You can check the PDF as well, so you can just refer through the entire PDF which we have discussed till now. Okay, so that's it everyone. So hope you all have loved the class. And if you have any doubts, try to comment down, and that's it I'd like to tell. Okay, so till then, bye bye. Then I'll try to see you in the next class. Okay, then I'll try to see it in the next class, and hope you all are fine, hope you all are doing good. Okay, and that's it I'd like to tell. Okay, bye, and thank you for watching the video, and please like, share and subscribe to the channel as well. Okay, see you next time. And I'll also make sure that the video is not lengthy, as it's already 1 hour. So this is the first video that I'm uploading, so it's 1 hour, so I'll try to make it around 40 minutes. I'll try to cover it and everything. After this we are going to discuss each and every history lesson as well. History will go then with social lessons as well. Okay, so that is what I like to tell about this in this video. Okay, hope you all have enjoyed it. Thank you, and all the best as well. Okay, you can keep the video in 2x and try to learn everything as well. 2x speed would be enough. Okay, you can get everything as well. Okay. Okay, that's it. I'm going to end the video in the class. Okay, bye, see you later.